So good afternoon. I'm Richard Beal, Police Chief for the City of Dayton. I'm here to provide an update on an officer-involved shooting that occurred in the early hours of this morning at 1016 Chelsea Avenue. First slide is just going to show you the residence that was the location of several calls regarding concerning behavior by a male subject. Obviously, this is what it looks like in daytime and not necessarily in this season. Give you a timeline of events. I'm not going to read all these times to you, but merely tell you that 5 separate calls were received before officers arrived at scene. They arrived at scene at 2:49 a.m. The shots were fired by officers 2 minutes later at 2:51, and the remaining times relate to the medic that was requested and also medic transport that occurred. Now to give you an overview of this incident as it unfolded, and that begins with these 5 calls we received, the first of which was at 2:32 a.m. Again, these calls were to Montgomery County Dispatch. That first call was regarding a suspicious person. We'll now play the audio for that call.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
I couldn't hear what you said, but I'm at 1012 Chelsea.
Okay, is that a house or an apartment?
House.
What's going on there?
So I was awakened by a loud noise. I went out to see if someone was trying to start in my basement, but next door to me is 1016. And when I went around, I could just hear someone standing out there. There's a male yelling something about, I don't know what he's yelling, but I don't know if he's trying to break into houses. It's somebody that's either something's wrong mentally or alcohol or something, or I don't know what's going on, but there's someone out there yelling, and they're yelling about the virus, they're yelling, I don't know, I'm older and I'm scared by myself. I wonder if someone could come by.
Okay, the next call is 2:39 a.m. and it was about a male that was in the backyard threatening to shoot someone.
Shooting somebody.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
1012 Chelsea.
Hey, what's going on over there?
Yes, I just called a few minutes ago about I don't know how else to say it, someone maybe off balance outside screaming, and I just went out to hopefully see the police, and he's in the backyard now, 1034, he's talking about shooting somebody.
Do you see any weapons, or is he just saying he is?
I can't see, it's dark. I could see a figure when he saw me come out of my house and started talking. I said, hold on a minute, and I came back in here to call. He's in the backyard at 1034. It's a male, that's all I know.
Yeah, next call was at 2:43 a.m. It was regarding a male in the backyard of, once again, 1016 Chelsea Avenue, talking about China, drones, and also talking about shooting someone.
911, Mercy emergency.
I can't hear you. I'm at 1012 Chelsea, and I just called a couple times. I gave a wrong information, and I need to correct it.
Okay, what's going on?
I'm at 1012 Chelsea. There's a crazy person next door. I said 1034 Chelsea. It would be 1016 Chelsea. He's in the backyard. He was a few minutes ago when I called, and he said he's going to shoot somebody.
Okay, do you know what he looks like?
No, it's pitch black out there. I went out to see if someone broke in my house. I didn't know he was standing out there. I wouldn't have gone out. But I heard him, and I could see a form. It's a male. I could hear, he saw me, but I have my porch light on. It's a male. I know that. And he's talking about this virus thing, and somebody here from China and drones, and he's out there looking for him to shoot him. I said, well, I'll be right back, and I came in my house and called you.
Okay, 2 more calls came in within the same minute, 2:49 a.m. So this 4th call regarding an individual saying a male was now firing multiple rounds of a weapon.
Hey, Dad.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
It's 1008. It's 2 doors down. There's somebody out here with a machine gun.
Okay, what are they doing? What's going on?
They're just shooting.
Okay, do you know how many shots they fired off?
A whole fucking bunch of them, man.
Okay. All right, would you like to leave your name?
Steve.
Okay. Did you see anybody?
Yeah, there's a guy. He's kind of like got long hair, beard, mustache.
He's still firing it off?
Dark clothes. No. He's got a strap on the rifle. He said. My dad said.
Okay. All right. We have officers pulling up.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, the next is actually radio traffic, not a call. So it's radio traffic. Its officers arrived at the scene at 2:49 a.m. Oh, I'll take that back. It is another call. Correct.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
1012 Chelsea Avenue, Dayton, Ohio.
What's going on there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I am.
What's going on there?
Yes, I've already called 2 times. There's like, I don't know if it's a crazy person. There's someone out threatening to shoot somebody at 1016 and 1012 Chelsea, which is where I'm at. And I just was talking to somebody, and I finally saw him. She asked me about him. At that time, I wanted to let you know, she said the police are on the way. He's in the street, in the front. I saw him. He's got overalls on. And but I still can't see if he has a weapon. But I wanted to call.
Were you able to tell if he's white, black, or Hispanic?
He's white. He's white. As far as I can tell, it's kind of a distance, but it looked like blondish straight hair, and I could see the overalls.
Okay.
But he's out front. I've been hearing bangs. I thought he shot the last time I called. But I wanted the police to know,
ma'am,
he's right out there in the middle of the street.
Okay, so 2:49 a.m. was also the time in which the officers arrived on scene. The male, later identified as a Derek Wolfe, was armed with an AK-47 style rifle and was given numerous commands to drop that weapon. He repeatedly ignored commands from the officers and continued to advance in their direction, pointing the weapon in the direction of the officers as well as surrounding residences. Fearing for their safety and the safety of other residents in the area, 5 Dayton police officers discharged their weapons at Mr. Wolfe, striking him numerous times. Once Mr. Wolfe was no longer a threat, officers approached him, secured the weapon, and began administering life-saving measures. As the officers were securing Mr. Wolfe, he gestured with a finger gun at the officers. At 3:06 a.m., Mr. Wolfe was removed by medics and transported to the area hospital. He remains in critical condition at this time post-surgery. Now we're going to play radio traffic related to the officers' response to this incident. Now, this radio traffic occurs over 35 minutes. It is compressed to 4 minutes. We'll now play that.
112A, 117 for suspicious person, 1012 Chelsea Avenue.
112A, clear. Third and front.
117 clear and route.
242.
112A, this guy is shooting now?
Affirmative.
That's clear. Get some more crews.
111, 118.
111, Huey and Stanley.
113A dispatch. Me 117 air in the hospital. What's going on?
1016 Chelsea, there's a male in the backyard shooting in the air.
Clear.
Information for crews, also shots heard in the area of 1029 Wayne Avenue. Saying they heard multiple gunshots, didn't see anything.
Where is he now? On the street?
Yeah, I can see him. He's out front of his residence.
Keep the crews out here on the hurry up.
149K, 110A, can you start that way?
Already in the way.
Shots fired.
Shots fired, 251.
Shots fired.
Dispatch, drop a 99. You're clear. 99 for Dayton West crews on 1015 Chelsea Avenue for shots fired.
Crews, start moving up the right side of the houses. I have a beat on them. 143 start medics. Have them parked up on Wayne.
You're clear.
Portably, I'm hold up now. 143. We're okay. We're 20. 110A, we'll need to see you out here. Start us a medic and an E-crew. We'll need a night lieutenant as well.
You're clear. Medics are on their way.
Medics can come in.
You're clear. Do you still need the 99?
You can cancel the 99. We're going to need a crew to block Chelsea at Lyndhurst and Chelsea at, I think that's Hazel. 17A, I got Chelsea and Hazel.
You're clear.
118, that's all good.
Whoever that is pulling up, grab some yellow tape if you got it.
Any crews running tone, put the tone.
Yeah, we're groovy. Dispatch, you can advise medics. They are clear to enter. Probably the best place is from Lyndhurst.
You're clear. 784.
784.
Are you not to the Chelsea call?
Yeah, I'm pulling up now.
You're clear.
143 to the crews on Hazel. If you could start taping off that area, that would have been where everything landed downrange.
D crews coming on scene. Get to 1016. 118S. Probably need you at 1016.
110. Information crews. Shots heard 2221 Russet Avenue. Complainant heard several gunshots. Saw a white male, an OSU hoodie, crouching down. Last seen southbound on Russet on a bicycle. Broadcast 302.
110A dispatch. What was the address on that Russet call?
2221 Russet 2221.
Thank you. I have some crews headed that way from your jurisdiction.
You're clear.
2 Miami Township officers are headed that way.
You're clear. Thank you.
310 dispatch. Yeah, it's all medics are now around now.
306. Is there an officer at 1020 Chelsea Avenue? We've got a female on the line afraid to answer the door.
344, that was us. We made contact.
You're clear.
Yeah, we're out front of her house.
You're clear.
344 dispatch.
Good.
The occupants 1021, 1019, 1015, and 1025 are all okay.
1021, 1019, 1015, and 1025.
That's correct.
310.
So the next slide here is a overview of the scene itself. You can see the kind of a red balloon icon in the center of it, but a little bit to the right of the screen. That is the residence of the suspect. The blue dot is the approximate location of the Dayton police officers when they engaged the suspect, who was armed and then discharged their firearms. The red dot is where the approximate location of the suspect. That's where his firearm was located. And then there's a neighbor's camera. You're going to see video of the individual, the suspect here, going through a back alleyway with this weapon. You're going to see that in a subsequent video. That's where that yellow dot at the very bottom right-hand corner of the slide, that's what that represents. We'll now show you that video. It's a very brief video. You'll see the individual enter from the right side of this slide and then walk across the left side and then go out of the screen view. I'm sorry, did it go already?
Yeah.
I missed it even, so it's pretty quick. Did you catch that? Okay. All right, so the next video is actually a ring video. It captures some activity of the officers. You can see that red square, so you can see lights from the officers. What you will hear, though, which is most important, not what you see, because there's not a lot to see in this video, is the audio of the multiple commands of officers spanning 40 seconds telling this individual to drop that weapon. So this slide here shows the weapon that was recovered in the middle of the street there, belonging to the suspect. You also see the right-hand photo there is a magazine to that weapon, 30-round magazine. Next slide, you'll see a tourniquet that was recovered at the scene. Officers did apply multiple tourniquets to the wounded suspect prior to medics arriving and subsequent transport. On the right-hand screen, you're going to see evidence tents marking shell casings, discharged shell casings from the police officers that engaged that subject and fired their weapons. Additional weapons recovered in a search warrant of that residence. You'll see pictures of those now. So you see a revolver, a semi-automatic pistol, the left-hand slide, and you see another long gun in the right-hand photo there. The next scene shows damage to the suspect's residence inflicted by the suspect. So this is damage he caused by firing his weapon within inside that residence. You see a blind broken out here on the right-hand side. You'll see a bullet hole in the door and also damage to a front door. Suspect is a Derek K. Wolfe. He is 35 years of age, very minimal criminal history. Our initial record search indicated a single charge in 05 of possession of marijuana. Firearms recovered, additional firearms recovered in the search warrant of the residence are listed in this slide. Also, the total of various types of ammunition totaling more than 3,800 rounds of ammo that was also recovered. As in all investigations where officers discharge their firearms intentionally at another person, homicide detective will be meeting with the Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office for consideration of charges and review of this incident. Mr. Wolfe, once again, is admitted to an area hospital and still in critical condition, potentially facing more medical procedures. He is a valid CCW holder. Professional Standards Bureau will be handling the administrative investigation, as is the protocol in all cases where officers discharge their firearms. The officers involved are listed here, as well as their tenure and any relevant history. And that concludes the presentation at this time. I'll open up to any questions you may have, and I will once again remind you we are just a little bit more than 12 hours into this investigation. We have a bit of work ahead of us still.
Chief, because of his injuries, you have not been able to speak to Mr. Wolfe. Do you have any early indication of any motive for this incident?
None at this time, none. I would say based on certainly witness who called multiple times in her assessment, as well as her comment of his behavior and statements made, they appear to be incoherent, to be quite simple. So mind state is a true question here. We don't have a definitive answer for that. May not have a definitive answer for that even after subsequent investigation. We certainly will try to get a better understanding. But I would say no, we don't have a clear motive.
What about testing at the hospital? Will you be doing testing to try and determine any possible substances in Wolfe's system?
Yes, I directed that immediately last night to execute a search warrant for any test on blood and alcohol or drug levels that may not be possible to obtain because of the multiple amount of blood that had to be provided. So it may not be inconclusive.
Chief Bill, good afternoon.
Hey, Chris.
I say this out of respect for your officers. Had DPD had any prior relationship with this individual, and/or do you believe his reference to China may be to the coronavirus and he's just fed up with it?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't think the only contact that we have, and I have to clarify, is the 05 contact a DPD contact? For the marijuana, do we know?
Don't know, Chief.
Don't know. So I would say at this time, we can't confirm any prior contact, although the 05 may have been a contact, but this would be 15 years ago. As it relates to any of his behavior related to COVID-19 pandemic, there is some preliminary information, and this is preliminary, that he had become fixated over recent weeks, maybe more than that, about this pandemic, its origin, and its impact on him personally. Can't say more than that. The best I can summarize what we know preliminarily. Okay?
How much stress is this? I understand your officers get into the business for a reason, but it's still got to be stressful with dealing with the coronavirus itself. Then you add on their duties. How stressful is this for your officers to have to deal with so much?
Yeah. It's an extraordinary and unique environment, right? And I'm not talking about just this year. We had an extremely challenging and difficult 2019. This pandemic has affected the entire nation and entire world. So we're all living this experience, and I think navigating it in different ways, some more resilient than others. I'm very proud of the men and women at Dayton Police Department and this city and its employees and their resilience in meeting all of these challenges and doing so with a, we can handle this, we can get this done. That doesn't mean everyone is handling it well. And I think as this progresses over time, we'll have a better understanding of how challenging that may be. So the duration is going to be relevant, I'd say.
How important was it for your department to have the citizens interact the way they did so that nobody else got hurt?
Well, let me just say that the calls based on concern about conduct was crucial, because I think when you look at the information that was relayed, first of all, the lethality that was available in hand in that person's possession, as well as the amount of ammunition potentially available, with statements that were overheard saying wanting to shoot somebody, that was a grave and imminent threat. And having citizens call and not just disregard that or figuring someone else may call was crucial.
Chief, if you can take us back through a little bit of the interaction with officers, because the slide went by really fast. I think you said something about 31 shots fired from handguns and maybe 5 or 6 fired from shotguns by your officers.
5 shotgun, 31 handgun.
Okay. Do you know, as he was walking toward you, did he ever fire any shots at your officers in their interaction, not counting the shots he'd already fired before you got there in the neighborhood at his house?
I don't know that we were able to determine that with certainty. So I'm just saying I don't know for sure. Because there were rounds found in the street.
Right. From his weapon.
Correct.
But you don't know exactly when they were fired.
Right. So certainly a number of those were fired beforehand, we have reason to believe. And it certainly is possible, even likely, he did not fire at us. Not that he has to fire at us to represent an imminent lethal threat.
And that's what I was going to, next question was, can you talk about...
I'll just reconfirm.
How your officers...
Hang on, let me just reconfirm. Lieutenant Hall, we do or do not have confirmation about whether he fired once we were on the scene.
Chief, we don't have any confirmation of that at this point.
Just don't know for sure.
But this is a man walking towards officers, disregarding orders and requests to drop his weapon, and then leveling it at those officers.
He had lethal capability and expressed previously lethal intent, the desire to want to shoot somebody, and then disregarded 40 seconds, many, many orders to drop that weapon, ceased to do so, and advanced toward them.
And then the follow-up to that is, talk just a little bit more, because it went by real fast on the screen as well, the additional weapons he had available to him and the ammunition found in the house.
Yeah, that was actually in a safe, and it was open, so it was readily accessible. You know, had he retreated back into that home, that could have presented an even greater challenge for us in our response, but also for the neighborhood at large, right? That is a lot of weaponry and certainly a lot of ammunition available to someone who has expressed a hostile intent.
Chief, in regards to your officers that were on the scene that were involved in the shooting, what will happen to them now? And I say that respectfully. Will they be given counseling as well before they're allowed to come back to the...
As a matter of course, as a matter of protocol, they are referred for a psychological check-in to see how they are navigating through and integrating this experience. It is not one that the majority of police officers do experience in the entirety of their career. So it is unique as an event, and a critical event in policing. Most officers do very well navigating through that, but we don't want to assume that's the case. So everyone who's involved in officer-involved shooting is required to do a check-in with a psychologist and to just assess how well they have, again, integrated this critical event and that they are, in fact, duty capable to return back to work.
Chief, I don't think I can say enough about this, but because you are the chief of the City of Dayton Police Department, in your opinion, did they do everything you expected them to do as far as police officers are concerned?
I would say they exercise an enormous amount of restraint, allowing a substantial amount of time for compliance for someone who represented a rather grave and significant risk. At some point, you can't wait any longer.
Chief, I want to go back part of grading. Sure. Two things. You mentioned COVID-19 and its impact on himself. I know you said it's all preliminary at this point, but do you believe he was sick, or maybe one of his family members was sick, or are we talking about him having to quarantine, or do you know?
No, not related to impact on him in terms of him or anyone we know of close to him of an illness related to it. Probably more the impact of all the collateral effect of that pandemic and its risk, its universal risk to populations, and the need to curtail certain kind of social engagement.
And then you mentioned during your initial opening statements that he pointed a finger gun at officers. What is that? Can you explain what does that mean?
Going like this, even after.
Do you know why he did that?
No idea. There's no verbalization that I'm aware of, but just as we approach him, he did this.
Chief, was he wearing any protective gear, armor, or anything like that?
No.
And the reason I ask that is because we have one witness that thought that after the first few shots by officers, he went down to the ground, then stood up again and walked toward them again. Can you confirm that, or do you?
I don't have any information specific to that, Mike, so I can't confirm or refute at this point.
Okay.
Chief, did he live there alone? Does he have a wife and children?
It was a rental, as we understand it, and I don't believe he resided with anyone else. All right, that's all we have to share at this moment. There are different traditional aspects of the investigation. Depending how things progress, we may be able to or feel the need to share with you. I will tell you we are tracing those weapons, so that's an important part of this investigation. We do not have the outcome of those traces to speak with enough specificity, although a number of the weapons appear to have been purchased or ordered out of state and then arrived here at some point in time. So more information potentially to occur regarding that. Once again, this is a criminal case because this individual at this point has survived. We're grateful he has survived. We don't wish anyone to die from our intervention. So there potentially prosecution occur here, so I may be limited in what I can share moving forward also, so please understand that is the case also, okay?
Is the ATF also involved in the investigation?
Well, we are partnered with them. We are wedded to them in terms of task force operations, and they're certainly giving us assistance in terms of weapons tracing.
Any contraband in the house at all?
None that we could find. Good question, Bob. All right, folks, that's it. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.